When I'm in there, I don't know, man. It was just, critiquing the fight. I felt like I was doing good, mixing some things up. I was loading up on my punches. He used his reach better than he's done before in earlier fights. He was more patient, not flying in.
He had a nice wide stance, too.
Yeah, we want him to come in. And the wide stance is when you stall, I started to throw inside leg kicks, which I should have thrown a little more, and I threw a head kick. And then some of the critique I've been getting is, how on the ground could you let him get to mount and do this stuff? When he hit me with the uppercut, I was out of it. And my initial reaction was, I guess, looking at the replay, to go, it looks like I went for a takedown. He kind of threw me to the ground. I came to with him on top of me. I came to as he punched me. That woke me up. I went for a heel hook out of mount, and my body just wasn't responding. You can see, like, it's kind of a half-assed attempt. My leg go real slow, and he just kind of gets out of it. So then I turn over, he hits me again. Then I'm back to normal. I'm cool. He's on top of me, pounding. It's doing zero damage. I'm not. There's no blame on Mario Yamasaki. None of that. You know what I'm saying? The blame's on me for eating that uppercut. That's on me 100%. I shouldn't have been in that position. However, under those circumstances, I was talking to Mario, going, do not stop the fight. He's hit me in the back of the head. Don't stop the fight. I'm fine. I'm looking at him wording this. Do not stop the fight. There's 10 seconds left, too. I heard the 30. I'm conscious of that. And then I can hear my corner going, 15 seconds, shot, 15 seconds. So I just remember talking to Mario, being like, do not stop it, man. And then he stopped it. And then there you go.
He had to stop the fight, though. The way you were flattened out like that, you were just keeping your hands up by your head.
Defend, but when there's no damage, I think you have to take it case by case. I'm like, homeboy's talking to me while defending himself. Yeah. It's not like I was eating punches.
Well, he was hitting you, but
100%.
You were flattened out. A lot of things look bad about that fight. You were lunging with, like, your punches instead of getting there with your footwork and then launching things from the proper distance. You were like really reaching and loading up. You looked very stiff. You looked very stiff. You didn't look fluid. You just didn't look good. It didn't look like you were well prepared. Like your movement just didn't look like an elite fighter's movement. What you were doing was very, very stiff. It was very stiff, and it was like a lot of apprehension in your movement. You could see the way Travis is moving. Like, his boxing was very clean, good technique, good movement. He's a bad motherfucker. I was worried about you coming into this fight. I can tell you that right now. I worry about your commitment to fighting, and I worry about where you stand. Not your commitment to training. Not your commitment to training, not your commitment to give it your all. I think you have one foot out the door. I think you're looking. You disagree? I think you're looking at where the future is going to take you, and that you can't do this forever. And I think that's a very dangerous place to be in fighting. You're a smart dude, and the problem with smart dudes is smart dudes think about concussions. You think about how many you've already had, how many you got coming up, how much damage you're taking in training. When does damage start to show up in your life? The reality of your skill set, where you at now, I don't see you beating the elite guys. I don't see you beating Cain Velasquez. I don't see you beating Junior Dos Santos. I don't see you beating Fabricio Verdum. You came into fighting fairly late in life. You're a good athlete. You're a strong guy, you're a big guy, and you can do a lot of things because of that. And you're very dedicated, and you're very disciplined, and you get shit done. But there's a reality of fluidity of movement, of mechanical efficiency of movement that happens when you get a guy who's trained his whole life at a certain aspect of MMA, whether it's wrestling, whether it's kickboxing, whether it's jiu-jitsu. There's a fluidity to their movement that you don't really have. And it's not that you don't try hard. It's not that you're not dedicated. It's not that you're not disciplined. It's not that you're not intelligent. There's shit that other people can do that you can't do. If you had a wrestling match with Cain Velasquez, how well do you think you'd do?
Straight up wrestling?
Yeah.
I think people would be surprised.
Really? You think so? I think you'd be surprised. I really do. I think he'd fuck you up. There's a certain amount there's a bridge between you and the very best guys in the world. And I don't know if you can cross that bridge. That's the reality of life. You're a very good fighter. That's not what the issue is. The issue is, can you become a champion? If you can't become a champion, are you comfortable with getting knocked out 3 or 4 more times over the next 5 or 6 years? You know, and that is a possibility. Question. It's a possibility. It might not happen. You might be okay, but it also might happen. It might happen 2 fights in a row. It might happen, you know, I mean, if you have to have a rematch for look, if Travis Browne loses his next fight and you win your next fight and you have a rematch with Travis Browne by some strange unforeseen circumstance, it's a fucking tough fight for you again, you know, and it very well could happen the same way again. You know,
or
he's
it could
more
happen
fluid.
the other way for sure.
It could, but he's more fluid on his feet. He's more lethal. Like his ability to close the distance and land shots, he has an extra speed, an extra ability to connect that I don't see from you.
I don't necessarily, and you know me, you're my boy. I don't agree with everything you're saying either.
Okay. The Orlovsky fight looked like you couldn't pull the trigger. Look, you're telegraphing the right hand. It was like your attacks were real obvious. Like it was real obvious what you were attempting to do. You were being very predictable. And Arlovsky was stiff as hell. He was so nervous, and you couldn't close the deal on him. You couldn't get in on him. You couldn't land shots. I thought you should have won that fight, but I thought it was a terrible fight. You know, if I'm a guy who's a talent scout and I'm looking at potential world beaters, or I'm looking at guys who can fight at the elite level or guys who can fight for a world title, based on those performances, I would not say that you're there. You just shouldn't be fighting at an elite level if you move a certain way, if you have a certain hitch to your step, if you're making mistakes like lunging forward with punches, you're leaving your chin exposed, you're loading up on the right hand over and over again, you're not recognizing that you're not hiding it enough, you're not recognizing that you're not being diverse enough in your attack. I worry more about you than I do about them, because I think that you leave more openings, you have more vulnerabilities. What I'm saying, I say with love. 100%. I'm not saying this because I want to hurt your feelings. This is the last thing I want to do. If I didn't love you, I'd walk out. I wouldn't be willing to do this, and I wouldn't